All right, we'll go ahead and call the November Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. First item is to approve the October meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Let's vote.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's passed.
Okay. Next item is the staff report. Jack, what you got?
Sorry. Not a lot to report, just a brief update of where construction is. Fairview Crossing has been finalized and final platted, and that should be recorded by now, but it won't show up on GIS for 30 days at the best. We have all the permits, applications for the first 8 buildings or 32 units of those townhomes. I would anticipate next couple of weeks, that process will be starting construction. And Brandy may know, are they starting in the south end of that, or are they starting at the north end, or do you recall which buildings?
He hasn't said to me which
Okay.
one.
Okay. Either way, once they start, they're gonna, based upon what my conversations with the owner is, he's gonna put in 8 foundations with 32 units in it, and work on those over the winter and spring. And at some point, he's not 100% certain where he'll put the other 8 foundations in and start. He wants them all done, just done and gone. So we'll have 64 building permits, I would suspect, in fiscal year 25, which from a budgeting standpoint, the mayor will attest, that's a good thing. We haven't had that many in a while.
So it's over what you budgeted.
Yeah. Because we didn't,
Yeah.
you just kind of shoot low and hopefully hit high and make a little extra money than what's in the budget. So that will be good. Anticipate groundbreaking to start up at Clay Creek Meadows soon. They are designing phase 2 for water, sewer, storm, sanitary and all that. Once they get all that together, they will then mobilize and start the water and sewer line, a short extension of water line and then sewer line for the single family lots on the south end of it. And before they get done with that, they're hope to have final approval for the other plans. Either way, they're going to start the grading of the rest of the phase 2 and 3 and go from there. And next month, we will have, you may have seen in the paper, we had advertised for Lakeside Farms, which is the old Eagle Heights, to come in. However, when the main owner got back from a business trip out of town, he had identified that the person who submitted the application submitted the rezoning application from several years ago, and they've went back to closer to their original. So that's why it's not on. So we had to pull that whole thing. It will be on next month's agenda. And that project will include the sewer work that opens up the capacity. If you recall, in Clay Creek Meadows, there was a limitation on the number of units that could be final platted, 159, based upon capacity. And that number they can finish if the other project pulls that Wildflower Station off and puts their other one in. So in about 2 years, with assuming construction goes straight forward, we should have everything up to 565 units total for the North Force Main stuff. And we've got the first phase of the Interceptor project that will open up all of that. It's a 3-phase project that will open up all of the North Force Main properties to no more of a sewer capacity issue. Whether there's funding or labor issues that come into effect in the next year and a half, 2 years, we'll see. But at least we'll have the planning side of it done on those projects. I think that's it, unless there's other questions you may have of projects going on that we can update you on.
Any questions for Jack? Okay, we'll move on. Next item is to approve the site plan review for 110 West Main. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, We'll go and start the discussion. Do we want to go, Jack, you want to,
Did you have public comment?
oh, we have public comment? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Let's do it. Please state your name, address.
My name is Doug Cercioni, 728 Spellman Drive.
you.
Here to talk about one of the city's favorite projects. Looking through the packet with the agenda tonight and pretty much everything's similar to what was originally plotted out and disseminated earlier. One thing that did catch my eye though was some of the parking stuff that I see has changed from what had originally been proposed. And some of it to me was a little confusing. For the fact that I didn't know if the chart on there was to show what new parking was being added or just what parking in general was being used for this whole thing. Cause like on Main Street that way, excuse me, listed 10 parking spots there, which are existing ones, not net new. So you had the 7 from the alley to the west and then the 3 from the alley to the east that are already there. You go around the corner to Mill Street, it listed, counted in 6 on the west side of Mill Street versus just the ones on the east side that were being added. Church Street, I saw where the original one was only 16, and from where the door's at on the north side of the building, it looked like there was a concrete pad that came out. I don't know if that was originally to be designed to be a walk or a crosswalk to go across to the north parking lot, possibly, but that seems to have been eliminated from the current plan. And on the interior, where the original design had straight-in parking and switched to angled parking, which cut down on the number of parking spaces by quite a bit. So it's, that was one thing I think a lot of people were concerned about, with just the number of parking spaces that because of the apartments and stuff were going to be needed. And this seems to reduce that by some as well. North lot has diagonal parking. It's design makes people easy to get in and out, but it seemed like it didn't go all the way to the north edge of the property, and it looked like the parking spaces on the west extended beyond the property line in the other city property that wasn't included in the sale. And then of course the new lot that was going to be paid for the city behind us, that was included in. Our Jack mentioned earlier that would be a city lot, where the North Church lot is one that will be more dedicated to the apartments. And I know before it had been talked about where with these apartments, they'd be ADA accessible if need be, but then I only saw where there were 4 ADA slots located clear around the buildings. I don't know if that's would be changed in the future if we had more ADA tenants in the building. Which are some of the items that I noticed when I was looking through it that I wanted to bring to the board's attention. That covers everything I came in to say. So,
Appreciate that. Okay, Jack. What you got?
Mr. Cercioni hit some of the high points, discussed them briefly there with you all. A couple of things that I wanted to highlight to you in the original packet here. The parking layout included, excuse me, not here, sorry, it's not that one. It's the one with Main and Mill on top. It had the original layout with parking. And there was an encroachment possibility onto United Fibers parking lot right back here. And we had put the condition on initially for approval that we would need to see an agreement that was recorded for a cross-access agreement so that those couldn't go away because they were integral to the parking system. They are still attempting to work on that, but in the interim, their engineer redesigned it. And that's the separate sheet you have. And they pulled it back and they redid the auto turn, which is what the fire truck, and it's a ladder truck. I forget the specs on it, but They did that auto turn at the specifications for the fire truck that the fire chief wanted. He approved that auto turn stuff Friday. So he's comfortable. He can get in and out as needed. And that on this sheet, that's what those vehicles you see are his ladder truck numbers. The actual engineer who did it is here, so she may know off the top of her head those numbers if you want to know them eventually. This most significant change to the downtown, to be quite frank, from my perspective, is the alleyway over here across between Bridge and the United Fibers building would be converted to one-way north. So all the traffic would have to go north to get in there. It allows the angle-in parking at the north end, but it also still allows more width for cars to go up if they've got to drop something off at one of the buildings there. If there's deliveries, there's still enough room for people to get around. It makes it more difficult if it's two-way. So that was one of the significant changes there. Their landscaping is identified on the last sheet of the main and mill as well. That gives you a pretty good description, although it's tiny on this 8.5 by 11 format. The version you got in your email and it's available online allows you to zoom in substantially and you can read what those are. One of the things that, let me go back a bit. So we had all of our comments, provided those to the engineer and the applicant of all the staff comments from Chuck Souls and myself to make sure everything was being addressed. We provided those, and that included the parking lot out here in the back, the parking lot on the north side, various and sundry things. We did a walkthrough after we sent that out to the primary partner on this that we've been dealing with when he got back in the country, and we walked through with him, Chuck Souls and myself, of all the design requirements for the parking lot that will be the city's to keep afterwards, their parking lot up front or up north, as well as several of the other things. And after that meeting, clear agreement on everybody's party, everything would work. The only issue that was outstanding after that was the parking that was adjusted later, or the parking site so that it pulled one space out of it, but it gave the ingress egress corner on the parking lot over here. So they include the landscaping that you see here on the back page of the main and mill. It is required to go in at all of the roadside green spaces at the parking lot to the north. We specifically called out on the parking lot at the south that no landscaping occur because this landscaping doesn't match the city landscaping here. So we wanted it left out until we figured out what we were going to do to make this kind of a citywide complex so that everything's similar. The parking lot that you see in the package for both of them the layouts are shown. They are roughly going to stay the same. The one on the bottom of the page is this one back here. It's roughly the same. The only significant difference is that we will require a bump out corner to match the ones on Mill and the one on Bridge back here. There will be no bricks associated with it. It will match the other stuff the city has coming down. So it's going to look in that fashion. So with no bricks as well in those little islands that are bumped out to give us the ADA crossings that we want. Those will just be maintained in grass as well. There will be all new sidewalks over on this property, all new sidewalks, both sides, primarily because of grading that they've got to do. All of the parking lots, north and south, will have to have, because of the nature of the number of people going in on these parkings, the drive over curbs will be removed at the approaches and an actual approach going in that will be designed to keep the water in the gutter, but allow a quicker in and quicker out so you're not driving over that bump, primarily so we can keep traffic moving. concern was we'd slow traffic down substantially. If you've got 25 cars in an hour coming in and out of a parking lot, plus all the morning traffic, it could become a little bit problematic. So they'll all have new curbs, new 5-foot sidewalks on all of it. The only bump out will be, as a part of this site, is up there, the new one at Mill and Church, on their corner. The other stuff's an inside corner, so it won't work. And they've got them at the approach up here. So from an aesthetic standpoint, it meets and matches what's generally here downtown. I laid out everything in the staff report as it relates to the building materials that are in compliance. Let me see parks fees, lastly. One of the things that we did, this planning commission did a few years ago, was adjust the site plan regulations to incorporate subdivision regulations, and more particularly for dwelling units, the requirement that the parks fees be addressed. 625 per unit unless there was some land that could be dedicated. In this case, there's no land they can dedicate, so they have a parks fee of 625 per unit. That total was 50 some odd thousand. And in the staff report, we identified in a meeting with Cynthia Wagner, Chuck Souls, and myself on site, that would be a good location north of their north parking lot. That would be a good location to get a parking lot in, at least a gravel one, for the future trailhead with the Riverwalk, or the Riverwalk project that is coming in a year or two down the road, so that there's automatically a space built in. It would be gravel, and then could be paved later as a part of that project, but at least we've got a parking space dedicated to that trailhead. That was part of the discussion, as Mr. Cercioni mentioned. There are some parking spaces that extend beyond the sold land that go onto city land. That's about 10 feet before it drops off on that steep hill. Most of the city portion of that last lot is on a steep hill. And the same thing on the north side of that lot, that the parking lot stops short of going down that steep hill to the north. So they would change their entrance a little bit and recreate the pass-through that goes all the way over to Bridge Street on that north lot. So that gravel road that goes through there. And then in that general area is where the new gravel parking area would be placed, fully accessible. And it would have its main access point, to be quite frank, would be off of Bridge Street by those apartments in that 20-foot strip of access that the city has there. I think that covers all of the salient points that we discussed with the developer, and they've agreed to. The rest of it's in the staff report. And as I said, the engineer who actually designed this stuff for them is here if you have any questions of her.
Does anyone have any questions?
I do, because I didn't see the original plan, and I noticed in the staff recommendations that you said that if they got the easement with United Fiber, then they would go back to the original. So how much does that differ from what was put in the packet today?
So it's actually in your packet. It's
Okay.
just one of the many sheets in the document that looks like this.
Mhm.
And it's the second to last full page on that document, and it's sheet C7.
Okay.
And if you look at the two, you will see in sheet C7 in the package, the full package, the bus is going through part of is driving through part of the United Fiber lot. In the new one, it's not in the United Fiber lot. They just moved up that island, took out some space there so that they could egress. From a city perspective, I'd prefer to gain those parking spaces up there again and have that pass through, but it would also be a trade-off with United Fiber probably losing 1 or 2 spots on their end. So I think that was part of the discussion, what's going on.
Okay.
How many total spots
Thank
did
you.
we add?
We had 32 plus the 6 and 8. So down here, we had 40. 32 is a stretch, but I'll give it 32. So 46 spaces total. And that's the parking lot that was purchased and the on-street that's being adjusted. So it went from 6
So
to,
this is public parking too, right? Or is it just?
on the
private?
north,
Yeah.
no, that's their parking for their property.
The,
The south one, wide open all the time, just
the,
like
the one next to the funeral home is public during the day. 6 PM to 6 AM to
whatever
6
the,
PM.
whatever the TIF
Yeah.
plan required. If that
Yeah.
was in the TIF plan, yes.
It's 6 AM to 6 PM. It's still public. The only thing that's private all the time pretty much is the stuff in the little, in the
Inside.
square.
Yeah,
Yeah.
inside their
Yeah,
square.
because all the street parking's still public.
Yeah.
And one of the comments made too on ADA, everything that's city is ADA. Just, there's designated handicap spots, but all of our sidewalks, all of our stuff has to be built to ADA.
Well, and I think the concern was, is the number of ADA spaces sufficient for the building?
They're still ADA. They're
Right.
designated handicapped.
Right. Well, and they're called ADA spaces and there's 2 of them on Mill Street in
Yep.
the angle in, and then there's the 1 or the 2 inside the building, unit stuff. Plus there's plenty in the already
Yeah.
downtown area. There's
Yeah, we
several.
have designated handicap throughout
Yeah,
downtown and
yeah.
senior center.
Yep. So all those designations are there. And to be quite frank, they pulled 1 space away when they're installed because Missouri law requires that when you put them in, you have to have at least 1 96-inch square unloading area. And that's what you see, the crosshatched area in both of those, between those spaces. So they're able to lose just 1 space by putting 1 on either side of it. And that only applies in a scenario where it is off-street parking. I think they could get by without installing the one.
Where do
On
you think
Mill?
the traffic addition will be? How much traffic you think would be brought in with this? Because if you have 86 units and just say, even if you have
Well, right now,
two,
after 5 o'clock downtown has no traffic, so.
Right, that's going to be the real question. Based upon the traffic study, it's, there's no improvements needed. You're looking at generally, if I'm correct, the count for an apartment is much less than a single-family home, which is averaged at 10 traffic trips a day per single-family unit. If it's a attached housing, it goes down. So if it's a townhome scenario, the number in the booklet is like 0.9. So it'd be 90 or 9 spaces or 9 trips ADT per unit. In this case, I don't know what the count is, but it's probably in the 7 trips per day. And that would apply, in my estimation, more appropriately if you have to, for the people that've got to, they're going to drive to the grocery store, that kind of trip, but there won't be the standard driving to a restaurant or whatever, because they're going to have all those amenities down here. So it becomes more walkable. But the total number will probably go from, I think we probably have 2,800 to 3,000 a day on Main Street. So this will probably kick it up to 3,200 a day, so.
I had a question on the gravel parking, approximate size of that, and is there any grading that needs to be done?
Yes, all of that will be part of it. They'll have to excavate out all the soil, compact the base, and then put the gravel in.
Okay,
The size of it will be however much gravel, $53,000 will buy at the time they put it in.
But it says
we said
a minimum of 8.
Minimum of 8 spaces.
Yeah.
okay, it's designed for the future trailhead.
It's being engineered right, yeah,
Yeah.
the trail that's going in right
Yeah,
now.
as a matter of fact, that trail concept will be discussed at the next board meeting or
Yeah.
two board
Work
meetings.
session,
The work session
Yeah.
next week.
Yep.
So you'll have a better idea. I doubt they have a trailhead parking lot on that yet.
Yeah.
Cause this was just something that we worked, when we got the numbers
Okay.
together and said, hey, this is what we're looking for. Open that parking space up to get access 2 ways and And that
And it's,
seemed to be,
as part of Streetscape Phase 3, we're adding parking next to the, what's now the hair salon and those apartments on
Yep.
Bridge. So
Yep.
that's adding a few concrete spaces too
yeah,
for them.
for them. Yeah, they'll have additional spaces off street.
Yeah.
Actually, so.
Cause there's a, what is it, fourplex that's in there that Travis has?
Couldn't tell you. It could
A
be,
little
it could be
right by the
4, it could be
bridge.
14. You can't
Yeah.
really tell from
Yeah.
looking at the outside.
Not a lot of cars, so I don't think it's 14.
Yeah,
but-
well, all the cards are,
Yeah,
in the floodplain area behind it. But,
yeah.
But yeah,
Jack, where would that 53,000 normally go without this type of an agreement?
it would go into a parks fund for, capital improvement on parks within a half mile is the recommended distance.
Yeah, we didn't need 53,000 for Remembrance or Courtyard.
Yeah.
It's,
And then is somewhere in that agreement is the gravel parking lot, whatever it cost, not to be less than that 53,000? I mean, he's going to spend
Yes.
that much one way or the other.
Yes.
Okay.
it's a lot of gravel.
Yeah, and and it'll include the material, the labor to clean it and get the base. But until they actually get in there and start doing it, because that hill on the north end of that space that they're gonna be paving is fairly significant, so they've gotta, it depends on how far away from that they've gotta go to get into a flatter area to put it in. But they were specifically, our Public Works Director, Chuck Souls, and their folks will negotiate the scope of it based upon unit prices. We'll know what gravel costs when they do it. So that gravel cost gives us a pretty good idea of what it's going to take to get it done.
And going back to the parking, that's the number one question that
Mhm.
I've gotten hit with this project. I mean, by the sounds of it, there's 86 units and
Mhm.
much fewer parking spaces. How does that equal out?
Well, first off, there are 48 plus 20. What's the number on the north, on that north lot? 33. So there's 48 and 33 that are non-existent at all now. Plus, plus you're adding all the on-street parking that's changing, that's probably adding another 14 or 15 spaces that don't exist now. So you're getting into about 80 or 90, and that's just in the half block from that site. The overall downtown, if you look on the city website, we have an old map that shows downtown parking that's 2.5 or 3 blocks from the zeros here at Main and Bridge. And there were 300 and some odd spaces. Most folks are unaware that overflow parking is so close. The Heritage Park overflow, there's 78 units in that by itself. So for a overall downtown, if we're talking about the Walmart effect where everybody wants to park at the front door, that won't happen. But if somebody's willing to walk 2 blocks, we're going to be in the 500 parking spaces range real quickly.
Okay.
It's
thank
funny,
you.
when I was at one of the events at Heritage, they said there's no place to park and people were parking by the playground or on the street that's further away than the overflow parking from the baseball fields. Like,
And that's part of to be quite frank, that's part of the wayfinding project that's
Yeah.
going on now to get that signage out so everybody knows, hey, there's parking there.
and it looks like we're getting a grant for that, so.
Yeah, so
So how many spaces do you think the businesses are gonna utilize?
I would not imagine.
The one
that-
that's on the map, you mean?
Yeah,
That-
with two
In-
new
the-
storefronts.
It's a restaurant.
Yeah, yeah, it's
a
gonna be a
restaurant.
restaurant, so you're gonna, I
That could
mean,
be
it's gonna be,
sizable.
it won't be as many as you think. If it holds 100 people, I think the number's 3 people per car on average. So that's 35 spaces.
And what is it? It's like 5,000 square feet? It's not,
Well, no, the restaurant's 3,900 and then the other is gonna be,
but the 3,900 square feet, your occupancy can't be
Yeah.
that high.
Yeah.
That's what Kozak's,
Again,
Kozak's is right
yeah.
around that right now, right?
Yeah, and that's a good example. Kozak's is in that facility up where they're at.
Yeah, they're
And
that size.
yeah, there's 90 spaces for that entire strip mall up there. Now, if everybody tries to get in line and wants to eat at the same time, you're gonna have problems with parking, but you won't have problems on the sidewalk because everybody be standing.
Well, we
waiting
went
to get in.
from one downtown place to eat to 5 in 2 months, and we haven't had any parking issues.
Knock on wood, I don't.
Right,
Um,
that's the math.
So, yeah, and bringing in another one, I think ultimately is going to assist us in some of those other endeavors that we're looking at to get the revenues from a sales tax perspective up so that we can start expanding on some of those things. Knock on wood, that's where we're at. We've got another lot that can be improved to add more spaces on this side of City Hall. And it wouldn't get 48, but it would probably get 40 in that space over there. So that would give you from that corner to that corner, 140, 130, 140 spaces would be available.
It makes a big difference when there's paint on the ground.
Right. When you can designate parking spaces, people generally like to park in them. When there are none, you're nice and safe
It's up to
in
you.
a parking space 3.5 feet away if there's a line, but you got to be about 6 feet away if there's no line. For whatever reason, that's the natural scenario of
You
everyone.
can go out there and measure it in the gravel lot right now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, and the
willy-nilly.
cars are much farther apart, and they don't park centered in that center. There's plenty of room to have car, 25-foot lane, 2 cars, 25-foot lane, and another parking space. So there's plenty of room for that. We've done the math on it. It's just not quite as abundant as over there. That one's gonna have, like I said, 8 more spaces. And as we expand, that's one of the issues, because there is no parking requirements on any project in the downtown.
Well, if you read the RFP response on the north lot, I mean, they left it open to be able to go vertical if they needed to in the future.
Yeah.
So if the private business wants to go vertical in a parking lot, let private business do so.
Yeah.
Save taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, because if they can shuffle all the private people into one area, all the public areas open up, so.
All right, any more questions? All right, so let me ask, do you guys want to vote on this whole thing as a whole? Do we want to split it out on the individual questions that we need to find?
This one doesn't have those unless you want to go
So we
through
can
the summary of the
go whole?
procedure.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll
this
do
is
that.
all.
It's
Let's say-
if we were dealing with a rezoning scenario,
Okay,
that's where the individual questions come in.
I would move that we approve this with the staff recommendations, conditions as listed.
I think we already have that motion, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, so we can go and vote.
Okay, Billy,
Aye.
Wallace,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Chevalier,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Mayor Boley,
Aye.
6-0.
This item will be on the agenda next week, the Board of Aldermen for their review.
Okay. Next item is the fun stuff, election of officers. We need to elect the chair, vice chair, and the secretary. We just do the chair first.
Yep. I nominate John to remain chair,
Second.
unless Billy really wants it. Your second longest, I
Yeah.
think.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah, no,
I will
Rob
say
already said no, so.
ordinarily, the person who's absent gets hit with the secretary.
she's- yeah.
But she's an alderman rep, so she can't be.
Yeah. Rob is asking how he became vice chair, and I said, because you miss.
If you miss a meeting, you usually, and as a citizen, you usually get hit on one of
Yeah.
them, so.
And that was 2 years ago, and I found out a couple weeks ago that I was vice chair.
Yeah,
Good job.
and that was only because our secretary was already gone,
Yeah.
so we had to.
Never had to run a meeting. You should get John some flowers or something. I don't know.
Okay, do we have any other nominations?
All right, voice or No, do we do roll call
You roll,
usually?
roll call so
Yeah.
you can abstain.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Billy,
Aye.
Rob,
Happily, I.
Wallace,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Mayor Boley,
Aye,
and Chevalier.
Abstain.
that's fine.
I just figured it out. Never mind.
Okay, we've got 5 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 abstain.
Okay,
Chairman is still the
I
chairman.
guess I will continue. The next item is the vice chair. I would like to actually make a nomination for this. I would like to nominate John Wallace as the vice chair.
Second.
Who was that?
John Wallace.
Billy seconded,
No,
or
I
you
did.
seconded, Mayor?
I haven't said anything. So
With
So
the
we have
head
John and John.
just-
Smithville Johns can run the,
Smithville Johns.
John and
Any other nominations?
John. Seeing none, call the vote.
Let's vote.
All right, Chevalier,
Yes.
Mayor Boley,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Billy.
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Wallace.
Abstain.
All right, we've got 5 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 abstain.
Welcome to the vice chair.
All right, we got a vice chair. Now we need to do the secretary. I would like to actually make a nomination for this. I would like to nominate Rob.
second. I'll get you a pin.
Yeah.
It's- There you go, you're good to go. It's gotta be blue.
Good.
Any other nominations?
Seeing none, Brandy.
All right.
Billy,
Aye.
Chevalier,
Aye.
Mayor Boley,
All right,
Terry,
Aye.
Wallace,
Aye.
Rob.
I abstain.
All
really
right,
like
said
signing
aye
those
first,
documents.
Yeah.
he did say aye.
Like the letter is what he meant.
5 ayes, 0 nos, and 1 abstain.
All right, so we have
Yeah.
our officers. Let's go ahead
Motion to adjourn.
and motion to adjourn. Is there anyone that would like to make that motion?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, let's vote.
Moved and second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.
Bye-bye.